My monitor's off. So much for my big dramatic entrance. Let's try again. Hello. I just got back from the kitchen that I don't pay for, came into my room that I don't pay for, and I thought I'd finally let you in on the secret. So my name is Michelle, welcome to my channel. Feel free to subscribe.
Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right.
So, as I alluded to, I have got free accommodation for the last 2 years now, and there's no caveat to that. I do not pay for my accommodation. Everyone else has to pay thousands and thousands of pounds, and I do not. And there is a very simple way to achieve this. Everyone can achieve it really. You just have to apply for the role of resident advisor. So a resident advisor is someone who lives on campus, a student, and they provide support to other students who live on campus. So students can call up and say like that they're feeling lonely, they have mental health problems, or on the other side of the spectrum that someone's making too much noise, or something along those lines anyway. So there is at my university there is a resident advisor on call every single day of the week. So obviously that is Monday to Sunday. As well as being on call 1 day a week, as a resident advisor you also need to be planning events to make your hall like a social place and to help people mingle and make friends and stuff like that. As compensation for all of your hard work, you get free accommodation. So obviously I can only talk from my own point of view at my university, but I did a little bit of research on what other universities offer resident advisor schemes, and I'll talk about them at the end, so stay to the end if you want to find out if your university also does resident advisor scheme and you can also get free accommodation. So let's start by talking about the good things of being a resident advisor and why to do it. So obviously the first big reason is you get free accommodation. Like literally I get this whole room for free, my kitchen for free, my ensuite bathroom for free. Yeah, it's just the dream really, isn't it? So I think our most expensive accommodation is about like £6,000 to £7,000, but while I was doing my research I found that some of you guys are paying like £9,000–10,000 for your accommodation, which you would potentially get for free or cheaper depending on what resident advisor scheme your university does. So yeah, that's a big saving. The second biggest pro for me is meeting new friends. So obviously you go through like quite a lot of training with your other resident advisors, and then usually you live with resident advisors. I do anyway. And last year I was blessed with meeting 2 of my very best friends, and not just meeting with them, but I got to live with them for nearly a whole year before COVID stole our last few months away from us. But we just had the best time. Just within the first few weeks we were like already best friends, and we just had the greatest time ever. So yeah, if you're an RA you might get lucky like I did and find your very best lifelong friends. And as well as like you can be friends with your other teammates as well. It is like a team, you know, you'll communicate about any problems you're having, if you want to swap shifts with someone, so you do get to know this massive group of people quite well, which is very nice. Another positive is obviously making a difference in your university. Not so much this year. Shall I just talk about pre-COVID times? The good old days. So when you do your block rounds, you're supposed to do your block rounds whenever you're on shift, so once a week, and you get to know the students quite well. So for example, last year I met a student on the very first day. He was very upset, an international student, couldn't really understand what was going on. The living situation was very different to what he was used to, and then I helped him arrange the support that he needed, and then being able to check in on him, like I saw him in the kitchen like a few months later and he was doing a lot better. So just, I don't know, I'm quite a caring person. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching my channel are also caring. So yeah, that just gives me like a massive boost, and it's a nice distraction from work as well. You know, you have that hour at least that you know that you're going to put the books down and you're going to get out and about and meet new people and chat with them about how their day's been and stuff. Like, I just really enjoyed that part of the role, to be honest. It is also really fun getting to go to all of the events that you put on or that other teams put on to show your support to them. So for example, last year, I don't know, I just had amazing nights going to the RA events or the uni events to kind of like show my support. And you're like working, but you're just eating pizza and playing games. I've also been to Alton Towers with the RAs. Like, yeah, there's some really fun things to be a part of when you're a resident advisor. Also, this is something that they brag about on the website, so I thought I'd just mention it. But whether it's a positive or not, basically you do get a lot of training. So you get training on like anti-bullying, active bystander, the rules and regulations of the university, etc. So some might see that as positive, some might see it as negative, but I guess if you're into like improving your knowledge and becoming a better person, it's kind of a good way to do that as well. Cringy, but true. And lastly, another thing that they kept on bragging about when I was doing all my research, I find this so funny, but they keep bragging about our free hoodies. Look at my hoodie, I'm gonna turn around. Can you see that? Oh, my knees. Anyway, so yeah, you do get a free hoodie. I have two because it's my second year, and this is actually super comfy. I should wear it more often. So yeah, you do get a free hoodie, free training, free accommodation. So they are the kind of like material perks, whereas I mentioned some of the non-material perks as well. Okay, so now let's talk about the cons, because I feel like what I've said so far, it sounds like resident advisor could be a job for everybody, but it is something to really think about because there are actually a lot of cons. So the first one is obviously that you do have to work one shift a week. And when I say a shift, I literally mean from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning. So firstly, there is the work side of it. I mentioned before that you have to, you know, get out of your room for a little bit, which can be quite stressful during exam time, or if you've had a bad day, still having to get out and go and interact and put a smile on your face. Like, that really isn't for everyone. And secondly, like I mentioned, the shift is super long, so like the whole point of that is that you can be woken up in the middle of the night. Some people seem to be a lot luckier than others. I was quite unlucky last year. I was woken up quite a lot of times, 1 a.m, 3 a.m, whatever. Sometimes twice a night as well. So obviously that means you can go to sleep. Let me just clarify this. You do sleep, but you just leave the phone on loud so that if someone rings the phone, it will wake you up, and then you have to get out of your pajamas into real clothes, go wherever you need to go in the pitch black, which can be really scary, and then deal with whatever the situation is. So most of the time being woken up at like 1 a.m, 3 a.m. is noise complaints. So people drunk, usually too loud, and the majority of times I was super lucky and I got really nice people. Like, they just didn't realise how loud they were being, and when I told them that I'd had a complaint about them, they were like, oh, I'm so sorry, we'll be quiet. But unfortunately, you do hear some horrible stories about people being really horrible to the RA. So yeah, as much as you have training and stuff like that, you're a human being at the end of the day, and putting yourself in that situation, it can be a bit worrisome, and you never know how it's going to go. So like I said, you have to work every single day. Well, there needs to be an RA in shift every single day from Monday to Sunday, which means that sometimes you have to work weekends and sometimes you have to work over the holidays. So Christmas holiday, Easter holiday, even summer holiday, they still need RA cover, so keep that in mind. Summer is a bit debatable, but it's nice if you can help out over summer because someone has to do it. But definitely Christmas and Easter, you're not going to get the full 3-week or 4-week break like all your friends do, so think about that. Another thing that I have struggled with, especially this year, is not being able to choose your accommodation or choose the people that you live with. So firstly, accommodation, if you're someone who really wants to live in an ensuite, or maybe with a small number of people, you absolutely have no control over that situation. At my uni anyway, it's just randomly allocated, or it's allocated depending on how well you did in the interview, which obviously is out of your control as well, kind of. So yeah, so if that's something that you're really passionate about, you could end up living with 23 people and sharing a bathroom with all these people. So just keep that in mind. And then in terms of friends, obviously it's been quite hard for me this year actually, with COVID times, not living with any of my friends, and then seeing like all my friends, they live with their friends, you know what I mean? And it just seems like such a great time and I'm so jealous. So yeah, it can be quite lonely as well, so keep that in mind. But on the other hand, like I said, last year I was randomly allocated with 3 other RAs and we were all like best friends, so it can definitely go either way. Last year I was just so lucky, and I pray that if you're an RA you get that experience as well. But on the other hand, you might end up being quite lonely, but it is just whether it's worth it, like you're saving that amount of money. And I do think if it's non-COVID times, then you can just like go visit your friends 6 days a week when you're not on shift, and then it wouldn't be too bad. So yeah. And then the last negative point that I wanted to talk about is paperwork. So after every single call out you need to complete paperwork, and even if you haven't went to any call outs, you still need to complete paperwork to say that you haven't been to any call outs. So if you're a person who really doesn't like paperwork, and maybe you're super busy anyway and you wouldn't have time to like fit that in, then have a think about that as well. Okay, so to finish the video, I have a little list of unis that I found online that do offer a resident advisor scheme. One thing to note is that some unis, very few, offer full accommodation rebate. So my uni, you don't have to pay for anything, you don't have to pay a single penny for your accommodation. However, a lot of unis I found, it seems that the majority of unis offer 75% off the accommodation and you cover the 25%, or even less than that. Some unis just offered Amazon vouchers. Amazon vouchers and free training and free hoodie. Like I said, they really like to hype that up. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a list of unis, but bear in mind that some of these will offer free accommodation, some of them will offer Amazon vouchers and free training and hoodies, so keep that in mind. So the unis that I found from my very brief research was University of London, Kiel, Liverpool, Leicester, Brighton, Ulster, Greenwich, and I'm sure there's a lot more. Like I said, that was just from the first list of the Google searches. Maybe every university does it, I don't know. I didn't really expect there to be this many. I thought it was quite a rare thing, and there was a lot more than I expected. So my advice to you would be to research into your own specific uni if they do have a resident advisor scheme. Look at the benefits that they offer and bear in mind all of the negatives that I talked about, and then you decide whether the benefits outweigh the negatives. So yeah, that is my video on how to get your accommodation for free. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so I can see you next time. And yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you so much if you've got this far, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!